All right, what's going on? Broke to Stoke, back again. A little video here. I want to talk about today lighting for videos. If you are interested in trying to get into creating your own videos at home or anything like that, this video might be for you. I am currently sitting here using actually mostly natural light for myself. This is all coming through a window, and there might be a little bit of light coming off of my computer screen, but it doesn't even look like that much. I just turned down the brightness and turned up the brightness. So if you saw any light on my right side, you might be asking how to light a scene and also why it might be important to know how to light a scene. You need to have most likely two light sources. You can see I am separated from my background behind me by that one singular light right behind my shoulder. Now that illuminates the background and it gives depth and shows that I am not part of that background way back there. I can turn that light off and I can show you exactly what that will look like. You can see now how much that has affected the scene. And I do also have a light over here, which is being captured on camera 2. So camera 2 right now sees a little bit of an orange glow over here. I'm going to cut to camera 2 and turn off this light, and you will see what the scene looks like with just the window light coming through. All right, now that's done. We have only natural light that we're working with. So you might be thinking, what is a budget that you can work with to set a scene? And also, what is your goal? These are the two things that are the next step after you sort of try and understand how to sort of get the light set up. So first things first is I have multiple lights here. I have one in front of me, I have one behind me that I can turn on, I have another one in the corner of the room, I have one over here in the corner of the room, and I have another one in the other corner of the room. So we're going to set the scene the way that I like to do it personally. You don't have to do this exactly the way that I do it, but these are the ways that I do it personally because this is how I like to set my light in this little YouTube studio in my bedroom. And this shows you how easy it can be for someone who doesn't have much money for a budget. Once again, we're going to do everything in reverse. All right, so the only light that's coming through in this video clip right now is all from the window. What I'm going to do is turn on this corner light once again. And then I'm going to go over here and turn on the corner light over by the posters. Now, that's already done quite a bit just doing that. Now, if I want to get rid of the window light and start using this artificial light I have right here in front of me, this is a GVM. Now, it is the GVM 800D video lights, RGB. You can get these on B&H Photo. You can get them, I believe, on Amazon. You can get them through Walmart. You can get them many places. I ended up with the 3 lights and the carrying case, and that suits me well. They are the stands they come with and all that are a little bit flimsy, but overall for the price of the bundle of 3 lights, I believe it is a very good value for any content creator who might need some extra lights. And so here we are, we're gonna sort of take down the window light, and we're going to start with this light right here. So first things first, we will turn this on. Now the scene is way too bright. I'm going to close the shade, which you will see won't really do much because this light is very bright and we have to adjust our settings. So you can see this has affected a little bit of the background because there's less spill coming through the window into the rest of the room. The video is still very much so overexposed. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring down the ISO. Currently, I'm shooting 30 frames per second on both cameras. This camera is at 1600 ISO and 160 frames, or the shutter speed is at 160. And aperture is at 2.8. Aperture on that one is 1.8, but the ISO is at 8000. So I can very, very well tell right now that this scene is extremely overexposed on that camera. First things first, we're going to set this one up. We are at 160 shutter speed because at 30 frames per second you want to have proper motion blur. Now I can show you, if I slow down the shutter, it's gonna get really bright, but also you can see the motion blur is way too much. There's a lot more trailing behind, and so you want to get a faster shutter. Now you don't want it too fast because you'll get jittery images. But here we are, we're going to go back to 160. And we've got proper motion blur. We're going to drop the ISO. 400 looks nice. 200 looks even maybe too dark. So 400 ISO, look at that. That looks pretty decent for a start. And all we've added is one light here. And we can also, once again, we can take away this light and I can open up the curtains and you can see this is now too dark. Now that I've adjusted the ISO, you can see the difference between before having this light on, the window, the curtain down. Now it's a little bit darker behind me. Now, something that some people might do on YouTube is they might stylize or try and find a little bit of a way to add to their background or to their scene. You don't want to be adding too much to yourself, of course, because you want to have like regular skin tone colors and whatever, and you don't want to be overexposed. Even my hat seems possibly overexposed because you can't really read the letters or the words on the hat. But those are minor details. You can see that the shadows are a little bit harsh because I don't have a fill light over here that's actually filling these shadows. You could get a reflector, but you can also see in camera 2 that I don't really have much room in the corner of the room over here. Now, for the most part, you know, this probably looks pretty good for the most part. Now, what I will say is I can add things to the background. I can add color to the background, and I do have 2 more lights. So what I like to do, personally, my way of stylizing an area or an image or my own personal sort of YouTube studio here in my bedroom, is turn on another fill light that splashes color or light onto the wall behind me. And so now I have 2 things, 2 light sources behind me that are filling sort of and defining my shoulders away from the background, so I pop even more. You can see how much that actually really does. Once again, I'll turn it off. And you can see how much my shoulders really just kind of fall into the color of this desk and the arm of the chair and sort of these shadows over in this area. So once again, we'll turn that on. Some people like to then add color. So this light is the same as this light, and I can add color to this one, and it spills color on me. And this is why I'm saying, you know, you don't really want to be using the color on your face. It looks kind of crazy. But we can go back to the regular color, but then add color to the background. Look at that. the background now has purple. And so it kind of stylizes the image, gives me that definition, the pop away from the background still, and gives you a little bit of a personalized touch if you're looking for that. Now, I did say I have 3 lights, and well, in total, I guess I have 5 lights, because I have 1 corner lamp, I have my circular ring light, and then I have this purple light, this white light, and then I have 1 more that I'm going to add another color with, because I like to sort of do that. I think it's cool to add another little bit of light over on this end, and not just have sort of the darker shadows at the top edges of the frame. So let's add 1 more color to this scene. Now, that hasn't done too much, but you can see a little bit more light over there. I have a couple different colors that I can choose from, which I'll show you a little reel of me going through that. I think I'm going to move it. I'm going to try and find a better way to prop it. And right now it's on yellow, which kind of looks all right, but it's not really mixing too well with the background. It's not really making a new color. It's kind of just mixing to the ambient light as well. So maybe I need to pick something that's more in the blue or magenta spectrum. As you can see, this has really affected the background. Now, I have a beautiful blue to purple gradient, and it's actually separated just behind me. I am lit with a nice light here. I'm separated from my background, and it's a pretty well exposed image. I bet you we're still a little bit overexposed on that other camera, and this is one last point that I want to sort of get to, which is simplifying and streamlining your setup so that all you have to do is turn on the lights, get to the colors that you want, maybe even find a way to save those colors or remember which color space numbers those are, the K values and the hue and everything like that. But then also remember, if you are shooting with multiple cameras, that you are going to have to affect the changes on both cameras. So I've neglected to do that in this video, and I'm curious to see right now what it looks like over behind me, well, on the wide angle lens, and we're gonna see. So let's just take a look. I'm gonna go and adjust those settings, so I'll be right back. So as I mentioned, I didn't really do many adjustments on the other camera. This is my camera 2, or well, I guess this is camera 1 and this is camera 2 over here. And the 7D Mark II is my camera 2, and the T7i right here is my camera 1, which I know it's kind of backwards, but I think this is easier to vlog or do videos with because it does have a flip screen, and I can flip it out, look at myself, make sure everything's going all right, see the exposure and everything like that, check the values. And then this one is a little bit harder because it has a locked screen on the back of the camera. I cannot flip it out and look at myself or the scene. When I look at the camera, all I see is actually just the camera and the lens pointing at me. So it is a little bit harder to work with. I can just look at the camera, and because it is a super wide angle lens that's on there, or not super wide, but it is a 10 to 18, you know, it does give me a pretty decent little shot here. It is on a crop sensor. This is also a crop sensor. So at 10, it's really, I guess, I don't know, it would be like 11 or something, right? I don't know. I think maybe it's a 16. All I had to adjust was the ISO. Went down from 8,000, which was a very, very bright scene, all the way down to 1,000, and it gave me a pretty decent exposure. I think I like it. It definitely looks maybe a little bit darker because it is a wide angle lens compared to this, which is also still wide angle. You can get the idea when I go like that. This is a 17 millimeter that we have here and a 10 millimeter there, both on crop sensors. So those numbers do get multiplied by the crop sensor, so that's 1.6, I believe. Yeah, I'm definitely not going to try and do the mental math. Of course, if you are trying to, get more and more into this, you want to streamline everything and figure out how to set things up. If you are trying to do shutter priority and have it auto expose using ISO and aperture, then you can put it on shutter priority, and that would be in the program setting on your camera, and you would do shutter priority. Or some cameras, I believe it's under S if there's an S on there. But yeah, so if you go out of manual, you can choose shutter priority, and then you can keep your shutter speed at the right speed so that your frame rate and your motion blur is maintained properly, and then you can have your camera auto expose the rest, which then it will change in depth of field, of course, a little bit here and there, because it will be changing the aperture. So if you are looking for a stylized perfect image, you are going to have to go into manual, set your settings yourself, check multiple times between camera 1, camera 2, camera 3. If you have 10 cameras, 100 cameras, however many cameras you have, you're going to have to go through and double check those settings every time when you set up your lights. So you are going to find a rhythm over time, but you are going to also want to try and find a way to sort of narrow down the specific settings and the specific vibe that you're looking for. Of course, if you're doing other things with video, you might end up working for a client or trying to film a documentary of some sort or whatever. Trying to find consistency through your scenes with lighting is definitely difficult if you're traveling to multiple places, interviewing people in different rooms, and have different access to different light. Sometimes you have to resort to artificial light, but sometimes you might get that perfect place with the, beautiful muted sunlight coming through a window that's just perfectly not too sharp, not too harsh, not too soft, and then you can work with that. Those scenes, of course, only come through once in every now and then, and you are very lucky when you get them. So a lot of videographers do resort to using lights like this to try and create their own scene. That wraps it up for this video. Once again, if you did get anything valuable from this video, if you found any content or any part of this video helpful, trying to understand how to create a scene for yourself or light a scene for yourself, make sure to like the video, and make sure, if you want to see more videos like this, click subscribe down below. There is a button and it is waiting for you to click it. I'll wait with it. Did you click it? All right. Hopefully you clicked the button. If you didn't click the button, that's fine. I will make more content, and you will see me later, because you will see me later. Once again, Jasper Forrest. This is Broke to Stoke. Take it easy.